The main idea that I think is crucial is the statement from President Xi Jinping of a community for a shared future for mankind. In terms of the idea that this is a new Marshall Plan, first of all, it's much bigger than the Marshall Plan ever was. It's a directionality for, as I've already indicated, how the world can be united in terms of a general economic basis for cooperation and ultimately, I think, friendship. People who see this in the West as a threat, which unfortunately many do, in my view, they have both a combination of wishing to continue to dominate world policy, independently of recognizing, for example, the rise of Asia, which can no longer be denied, and especially the role of China as a global economic power. And it's generally based on a certain kind of paranoia that China will do, for example, what the British Empire had done to China by abusing and imposing colonial types of exploitation, which is absolutely, for those who study and understand what the BRI is totally incorrect. But this has not, unfortunately, yet been able to either be corrected in terms of Western policy, which I'm sure you're aware of. There's an extremely negative view in Sweden directed against China.
Yeah.
So we have a unique responsibility, in my view, to continue to make this reality clear. We have a social media website, which is available. On that website, especially my colleague, Mr. Hussein Askari, writes extensively articles that address most of the incorrect disinformation, tremendous amount of outright, unfortunately, lying. For example, we did a year ago approximately, we did a webinar where we had a number of experts, specialists who had been in Xinjiang and identified that there was absolutely no evidence that this scenario, which was being propagated throughout the Western media and still is, had any substance. And he has also written extensively, actually right now, on exposing what is also being called the debt trap. That China is out to take over these countries. This has become a kind of narrative that has, unfortunately, no truth to it, but has become a common theme that is being used as a way of trying to misrepresent and in many ways present obstacles for the continued development of the BRI. This is a pathway for peace and development for the world. And hopefully mankind and the countries that are at the moment either misinformed or consciously rejecting it will change their perspective and direction. And that is the task of what we are doing. Western thinkers, for the most part, political thinkers, have virtually no understanding of Chinese culture, Chinese thinking. They have a simple ideological, dogmatic view that socialism, for at least many countries in the Western world, is considered ideologically negative. And they operate from the viewpoint that there's no possibility of collaborating within that framework. Belt and Road, which is extremely important and relevant, to promote what is the foundation for friendship and understanding between China and the Western world, the European world especially. As the great Chinese teacher philosophical thinker Confucius said, you have to look at the long-term processes that define both the orientation for future benefits for the people, but also where you have come from. So I think this is just a continued effort on the part of China and the government to find channels, if they can, to work together, to find those forces in the West that wish to work together. And I mean, this is very clear that it does represent, for me, a clear idea for the common good, which is a central concept in Chinese philosophical thinking, in the ideas of Confucius, which I have seen clearly referenced over and over again by President Xi Jinping. In fact, I believe that the West wants China into taking military action, which I think would be not a good step. But at the same time, the continued efforts to destabilize China, which is, and Taiwan is a part of China. Taiwan is Chinese. It is not a foreign operation. And this issue has been defined clearly by the UN going back to the 1970s. The West wants to maintain its control not only over those areas of the world which it has dominated, but to continue to dominate the Pacific and to use its so-called leverage there in every way possible to define its superiority and its control. That will not work.